What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 2 of the Founder Academy for FIFA 22. So, it's going to be a really busy episode. Basically, what you're watching is all the updates I've had since my last video, which I think was about almost 2 weeks ago now. So, as I've kind of overpromised and underdelivered in the past, I've always tried to kind of like want to have some consistency to my video uploads, but I know that with life and the way I have to, balance my career, I've never really had the ability to do this on a consistent basis. So I'm trying to give kind of almost like a weekly update. I think that would be the ideal in terms of getting some consistency back into the series, is to try to do this if I can every weekend or so, and just kind of say, here's what's been going on with the week, because I'm never going to get to the point where I'm going to be doing these daily. I would love to, but I just don't think I have the capacity to do it. They take way too long to edit and upload, and even just recording. I don't get the opportunity to go on here on a regular basis and play every single day. I try to do the SBCs and stuff if I can, but a lot of it gets done on my phone. A lot of it gets done on, just the computer or whatever, like the web app. And that also causes problems with the series. So these are things that I have to try to capture when I'm recording, too, because I want to make sure that I get it. I don't want to be taking screenshots of a computer. It's just not as engaging. So anyway, that's kind of the life update. What you guys are seeing, though, in terms of all of this is, like, I did a lot of the early SBCs. You guys saw a lot more of kind of a breakdown of the very early parts of FIFA, but I'm not going to be doing like kind of my analysis on every single SBC or everything, because it's boring. Plus, you guys can watch this on other channels. So what you're just going to see is more kind of highlights. So with some of the SBCs, I did the hybrid leagues, hybrid nations, and the hybrid leagues and nations. You're not going to get every single team in that, but what I'm showing you are just some of the major kind of pulls with this. This was one of my first big packs after the Conte one that obviously you guys saw in the last video, where we got Wan-Bissaka, Joe Gomez, and a couple other little guys in there. This is also from, like I said, almost a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So at the time, these guys were going for quite a bit. And my pack luck has actually been quite decent, to be totally honest with you. My early impressions of the game are, they kept the preview packs in there. There's only been one preview pack that I've actually purchased, which you guys will see later in this video. It wasn't a massive pull, but it was a decent one. I recommend going in there and doing the preview packs every day, essentially, because I think it's a 24-hour preview pack. And just making sure that if it's a card that you can make more than the pack's worth, usually the 7.5K packs, go in there and get it. I don't really know what they're doing with preview packs, to be totally honest with you. The promos haven't had any previews in it, so those are the ones that really people want to buy. Like, I don't want to preview a 7.5K pack, because chances are 99% of the time you're going to get nothing in it. If they do that with the 100K packs and 50Ks and stuff later in the year, a lot better. I'm gonna be more inclined to actually do it. I like the way they implemented it last year. I found that I was actually putting, I don't think I put a lot of money in the game, but I'd be more inclined to do it if I knew what I was getting, because I would probably not have put money onto like a prime player pack. But if you showed me a preview and I saw that had like an icon or something good in it, I definitely would be putting money on and purchasing that pack. So it's kind of counterintuitive. I don't really know what they're doing with FIFA in general. I know that when I had conversations with them late last year, they were really interested in the idea of more subscription based. So don't be in shock if you see that kind of going forward. I would be surprised if they weren't at least heavily looking at that for future iterations of FIFA, just because there's too much novelty that they have to build in order to try to get you to buy the game every year. And at the end of the day, most people are really playing one of the key game modes. They're either just going and playing online, which doesn't really require a lot. It's just the gameplay updates. Most people are spending, this is their really bread and their butter, is Ultimate Team. Ultimate Team is where they make a ton of their money. And why not? Like, why not focus your attention on just finding ways to kind of upgrade the game? The problem with Ultimate Team is once you've got 99 rated players all over the pitch, you basically have got a problem on your hands, because there's nowhere to go from there, and then that's when people get bored. So Again, with this year, what they've tried to do is slow people down, and it can be really frustrating because I tweeted this out. I don't think the content has really been that good so far, and I get it. It's still really early. The game's only been out for like a month at the very most, but it's just not really. There's nothing that gets me going on the game. Now, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, Shane, on Twitter, who made a really good point. He goes, he likes to play the game early on because it's when everybody's got starter squads. You're not coming up against god squads. I'm actually the opposite. I find that this part of the game is really boring to me. And I know that I'm probably the rare side of things because I don't necessarily play a lot early on when people are very excited. But I just want to play with cards that I like. And there hasn't really been any cards that I like. There's no SBCs that I've done besides just even the pack ones. And the pack ones have all been crap. They've been like one rare player or two rare players or a player pick or like a really lame pack. It's just like a gold players pack or something where you got one rare. Like, we're at the point where I don't even want to say we're at the point now. Like, it was at the point probably when the game launched within the first week where a lot of cards are worthless. And until they start releasing like really, really high rated like SBCs or like a flashback to like a Messi or a Ronaldo, or I dare even say like an Aguero or something, where you actually have to put like some decent rated cards into it, a lot of these guys are just going to sit there being worth nothing. Like, I packed a Harry Kane, which is a little bit of a spoiler, I guess you'd say. But he's only worth 24k right now, so he's just sitting in my club because he's going to rock it up. I was actually thinking about investing in Harry Kane. I've never been a huge trader, but at the same time, I'm sitting on a bunch of coins, which you guys will see how those kind of come about. And I'm just thinking, like, why don't I invest this? It's literally like real money. It's like if you don't do anything with it, it just sits there, doesn't really generate any interest. But if I can go get some assets for it, they'll just go through the roof. Like, a 90 rated Harry Kane is going to go nothing but up. He might drop a little bit. If he gets down to the 20k range, I'm definitely going to be buying him because he'll double or even triple later in the year at some point. But anyway, that's kind of a little bit of a quick update. You guys saw some of the pack pulls and stuff. We ended up picking out the badges and kits that we wanted to use. So I'm using this DC United kit right now. Haven't really had like a great team to take in, but it was a very usable team. The first guy that we came up against, he had a Serie A squad. This is the first online game that you guys are seeing here. The challenge that I had, even though I felt like I was much better, not much better, like this guy was okay, but he, at least you could tell, had played the game because he started abusing the tactics. Not abusing, I hate using that term because I don't think it's abuse. It's like, I'm a subscriber to don't hate the player, hate the game type of deal, literally and figuratively. But with this type of guy, you could tell later in the game he needed to get back in, so he changed his tactics and he just played a lot more aggressive. And I think he just went kind of like ultra aggressive with the the player not the team, is it team press or high, I don't know why I can't think of the term for it, but it's basically where your team is just super aggressive, and then he just changed his tactics to be like a lot more higher up the pitch formation, probably a 3 at the back, but because he's got like that really high press on, and he's got ultra aggression on, it just caused my players to kind of fall through the floor. And you add his Handanovic into there, you go, you see with the save there, it just caused some frustration. So this is pre-patch, this gameplay. I think it's a combination of that, plus I don't have the world's greatest players. I had some decent players in there, but nothing like too crazy. This was about as low rated a team as I think I possibly have. I think the best player I had in my squad was like Jack Grealish or something like that. So nothing too crazy in the squad. I didn't expect guys to be like hitting shots from 20, 30 yards out, but the keepers at this point in FIFA were like really, really overrated. They were coming up with massive saves, and I don't even want to call it a tip because I don't think it's a tip, but more or less what I've found with the early stages of FIFA is if there's a player in the way, they might have nerfed this a little bit with the patch, but if there's a player essentially between you and the goal, he's going to block it or he's going to intercept it. So really what you're having to do is just tramp passes and kind of walk the ball into the net. Like even there, like this guy kind of had a half chance, but his player's missing. Like he's missing the net from there. Like, it's really ridiculous. And even if you do put it on net, the keepers are like picking things out of the top corner. So the way I was describing it to my friend, who also plays a lot, he plays on PS5 though, the guy that we were playing with a lot last year, Nima. The keepers are pulling things out of the air from inside the area. So if you take a shot, the keeper will pick it out of the top corner, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, no keeper in the world has that type of agility and that type of diving where you take a shot with, like, you know, a really high rated striker and the keeper will jump and pull the ball right out of the top corner. But with finesse shots, if you hit them on certain angles, the guy could be 25 yards out and it will go flying and bend into the top corner, and you see the keeper like do one of those ridiculous flappy arm saves where he just misses the ball and it just goes into the corner. They were really stupid. I think they've nerfed them a little bit, but I'm sure there's parts of the patch that have also overcompensated the other way. Regardless, we end up getting the win in our first game. The guy was a decent opponent, but like I said, he just turned on the tactics. He went with the high press, high aggression, and it caused my players to fall under duress. It's one of the frustrations with this game, that you can't really counterbalance that. Like, you have to essentially just try to play your way out of it and hope that your players don't give the ball up. It's very frustrating. There's nothing you can do, and if you're playing against somebody that knows how to use it properly, and when I say use it properly, just use it in general. If they know that it's there and they turn it on, you just go, okay, my team's just going to fall through the floor now. So that's kind of what happened. We just had to really play our style of game, which is just holding a lot of possession, playing short balls on the ground, and essentially try to walk it up the field and see if we can get a goal. But you saw his keeper was stopping every shot we had, so the only way that we were going to score once he went on the high press was to tramp it. So we do get the win. However, it wasn't a very satisfying victory. But that's kind of par for the course with FIFA. I can't remember the last time where I felt I really played a game and the result was reflective of the game. I feel like this year in general, and you guys are going to see this a little bit more with some of the gameplay, it's just too random. And that's my frustration with FIFA in general, and it's been for the last couple of years, is you can run down the field and whip in a cross and the guy will just power head it down and you're losing 1-0. Or you do that and you're rewarded for basically not doing anything intelligent. But then when you're trying to, defend a player, it's like it's too random whether you're actually going to stop him or not. You're sitting there jockeying him, you know where he's going to go. He finally overcompensates one way. You put in the tackle and the player just bounces off. Like, it's stuff like that just, it's going to always, until they fix that type of stuff, this game is always just going to be for the casuals. It's just going to be, go in there, you can't take it too serious, because if you're trying too hard, chances are you're going to win, but there's a lot of games where you're going to lose to a player that you shouldn't lose to, or you're going to draw, or even it's going to be a closer game than it should. Like, this game does not properly reflect who the best players are. There's too much area of gray, there's too much rubber banding, and there's too much randomness to it. And you can blame whoever you want. You can blame EA, you can blame the life cycle, you can blame the players, but I sound like a broken record. I've been saying it forever and ever and ever. It's just until they can figure out a way that they can get a game then maybe it is by getting on a subscription basis where the game just continues on the same life cycle. It's just they're constantly upgrading it. So next thing you know, you've got GTA 5, or you've got, these other types of games like World of Warcraft, where it's just patches and just updates. It's not having to come out with a new game with all these crazy new tactical things that they're doing and all these crazy new gimmicky items that are into the gameplay to try to get you to buy it every single year, because every time they do that stuff, it breaks the game, and it's finding the meta, and then once you find the meta, people just abuse it, and it's just too frustrating. Anyway, that's a very long rant, but that's been like my first impressions of the game. Overall, it's just like any other year. Like, I kind of laugh to myself a little bit because I talk to a lot of my friends about this, and they'll just be like, I like the game this year. And to me, it's the same narrative. New game comes out, you're playing against guys, you'll play against random, guys that are good, guys that are bad. It's when guys are starting to figure out the game, and that's when they think the game is going to be really good, but really all you're doing is you're coming up against opponents that aren't very good. throughout the life cycle, you start seeing these guys start to drop off as they become more casual. They just go, oh, a new game came out, or, I'm not very good at FIFA this year, so they start dropping off. And the next thing you know, by halfway through the year, it's just the animals playing. It's just, it's psycho hour or whatever you want to call it, and it's just very frustrating because it's just powerhouses against powerhouses. And now with skill-based matchmaking, you're coming up against yourself every game, and people just go, this FIFA sucks, because they're now just playing a version of themselves somewhere else in the world. And it's just, you start playing against you, and for the rest of the year, that's all it is, and it becomes a card collecting game. It's the same cycle every year. I just laugh when I see people think that this year is going to be any different, because nothing's changed. And that's not a knock against EA. That's just the product of the life cycle. When you've got an annual life cycle, there's a lot of casuals in the game early on. They start to die off, and then you start playing hardcores. So, game's great. Game's okay. Game sucks. That's what people think, and it's nonsensical, but it is what it is. Anyway, back to what you guys are watching. I've missed quite a bit here, so I apologize. We've done a lot of the SBCs. We ended up getting our first victory. Essentially where the game's at right now, we picked up Jadon Sancho. I wanted to build the team around Sancho. Normally I play like a very narrow formation, and it is going to become narrow. In my custom tactics, I go to a 4-2-3-1, but in order to fit Sancho in there, I had to play a 4-2-3-1 wide. Finding the left wings is going to be the challenge, because there isn't really a ton of them. Raheem Sterling's the guy that I'm going to want in there. Spoiler, we end up getting him in the future. Not in this video, but you guys will see that in the future. But I don't mind spoiling it. It gives you a reason to come back and watch the future episodes, I guess. I actually haven't used him yet. I just picked him up yesterday. But Jadon Sancho's in the squad. We end up picking up a striker. It's getting that kind of attack, because the attack, I dare say, is the most important part of FIFA this year. Like, you have to have a good attack. If you don't have good strikers, and you could probably even say it's been like that for years, but if you don't have good strikers, if you don't have good attackers, it doesn't really matter how good your defense is. You can sit there just absorbing pressure all day long, but you need a guy that can score a goal. So getting kind of that top four, the central attacking mid, the two wingers that are going to come in, and then the striker, those are kind of my top priorities this year. They're always the most expensive, so you kind of have to focus a lot of your attention on it. But when it comes to pack luck, I've had some pretty good luck. We got Wan-Bissaka, we got Joe Gomez. We ended up purchasing Jadon Sancho. He was going for about 20 or whatever he was. Jack Grealish is in the squad here, but he's going to end up coming out in the future, because we end up changing a couple things here. But with these SBCs, I just recommend going through the hybrid leagues, hybrid nations. Don't do any of the SBCs where you get one or two players back. Like, they're just coin sinks, because you're putting 11 cards into getting one, unless you've just got a bunch of bronzes. That's what bronzes are for. Silvers, that's what silvers are for. If they don't sell or they're untradeable, put them into that stuff. But if you have to put 11 golds in to get 2 gold rares, don't do it, because the golds are going to become more valuable later on in the year. I only do it for like the marquee matchups, because all the 4 teams, they end up offsetting. You're submitting 11, you get 11 back, or whatever. Submit 11, get 12 back, usually I think is the case, and you get that additional pack. So that's how you build your club up. Marquee matchups, I always recommend doing them. You'll get some random luck throughout the course of the year. Chances are most of them you're going to get nothing, but like I said, you're just building fodder in the club, because that's when you're going to end up putting all those guys in for when good SBCs start coming out later in the year. It's just right now there just hasn't been anything good, and there's too many days where nothing comes out. Like, the SBCs that have come out are guys in off leagues that you're not going to use, like Anderson Talisca. I know some people are going to do that, and they're going to argue me till they're blue in the face, but to me, he's a worthless player. Like, the card's not that great, and he's too hard to link unless you're playing an entire Brazilian squad. Like, why have Anderson Talisca to have him come off the bench? Like, I packed Memphis Depay. Memphis Depay is going to be my super sub. So I would rather do that than coin sink into one of these guys that's going to be what is he going to be, a one-to-watch card? Even if he gets a bunch of upgrades, like, you're not going to fit him into your squad because he's a central player. You're going to have to jam him in somewhere and then put an entire squad of Brazilians around him, or get like icons, and icons right now are way too overpriced. Just save yourself the money. Don't get sucked into hype. let other people do it. Let other people use it. Right now, to me, it's you can get a very, very good squad for very, very cheap. This is a perfect example. Phil Foden, right? I wanted Phil Foden. He's got very good pace. He's got very high dribbling, very high passing. He's a perfect cam. He's not a fantastic finisher, but shooting is almost overrated stat at this point. So I'm okay having an okay shooter if it means he's got really high dribbling, really high passing, and more importantly, really good pace for a central player. Get Phil Foden, put him in your squad. You can probably get him for about 15K right now. I was actually contemplating getting the inform version, but because he's a left wing, I didn't want to get him and then have him moving around. But that central card, well worth. You can build 15K really simply. And to get him into your squad, he's a game changer. And then worst case scenario, if he goes through the floor, you're going to keep him. He's going to be good for an SBC in the future. Like, let's say there is a Phil Foden player of the month, right? Like, he's going to go into it, right? Any of the 84s and above for SBCs. I dare even say 83s and above for SBCs. They're going to be very, very useful cards. Or for the Premier League, are going to be very, very useful cards for SBCs in the future. So, Antonio Rudiger, is it? Or Antoine Rudiger? I think it's Antonio Rudiger. We end up picking him up in this pack. I didn't even notice him. Very, very usable card. 83 is going to be good for SBCs, but there you go. Look at that defending and that physical. 84, 84. Decent pace. 75 and above right now is very usable for a center back. Right into the squad. You can get him for less than 10K. You know what I mean? Like, crafting 10K is not that hard. Play about 5-10 offline games. You can even just go play your squad battles for a week. You'll pick up enough in those packs from the squad battles that you can just flip it, and next thing you know, you got Antonio Rudiger in your squad. Like, it's very, very easy to pick up a very, very low-rated... They're not even low-rated. They're almost decently rated squads or players to put into a team. You can even use the odd non-rare card. Just put a team together that's usable. That's all you have to do. And then just use those guys. Don't get sucked into buying guys like Marcus Rashford, even like Pogba. I want Pogba, but I'm not going to pay over 100K for him, right? Bruno Fernandes, these types of guys, they're going to sit around that 100, 115K mark. They'll drop down once promo packs come up. They'll drop into the 80K range. They're going to come flying down. Like, the rare cards right now, I think 83s, 84s, 85s, 86s, those types of guys, the undesirable guys, like a Harry Kane's a perfect example, he's going to go up. Those guys are sitting very, very low. This is another perfect example. We end up packing Luka Modric. I think I might have sold him just because I needed some coins in order to pick up a signing that you guys will see in a bit. But those types of guys I'm just keeping in the club because they're worth 8K right now. They are going to go up to 20, 25 at some point. Because they're high rated, they're going to be needed for icon SBCs, player of the month SBCs that are desirable, not like Ronaldo. Ronaldo's unaffordable for anybody outside of Bateson. But anything that's decently priced, decently rated, hold on to it because the price is going to go up. And then the high rated players that people are using are going to go down, and you're going to start finding this is going to happen. It's going to start balancing itself out. Right now, you've got the Bruno Fernandes, the Rashfords, they're all desirable. They're always going to be desirable, but they're going to drop once promo packs start coming out. And then these low rated guys, when SBCs are going to come out, are going to start going here. So you're going to start seeing that chasm start to close down quite a bit. But with that being said, we jump into our second game. We did a little bit of housekeeping around there. The second game was a very, very interesting one. This guy had a really, I don't even know if it was, I would call it an average team. It was a very odd team. He didn't look like he had great chemistry. But this was a very frustrating game. I don't even know how to describe it. This guy's, I don't know if he went high pressure tactics. It just felt like my players just weren't playing great, but I just couldn't break him down. He was a decent defender. He just kind of was always in the way. It was kind of like man-to-man marking. It might have been the tactic he was using, but I just couldn't find a whole lot of opportunities to break this guy down. He just always felt like, even though it looks really spread out, he just had players in the way all the time. So we end up getting our first goal there with Phil Foden. He didn't attack well. He just... Like I said, I just couldn't break it down. It looks surprisingly spread out, But my players with misses like that, like I probably should have cut it inside, but I thought for sure Phil Foden was going to bury that near post. A combination of my players missing opportunities and me just not being able to like put the ball away against his keeper. Like that's really all the chances that we had in the first half. He just was always there. He was just always in front of me. Credit to him, I guess, for the way he defended, but I just couldn't break him down. It was really bizarre. It was just one of those odd games. I think it was also one of those ones where I just didn't have quite that level of talent. Now I'm sitting here preaching getting an average team. But I'm saying that for investing in the future, right? Like you can go out and get like the high rated Premier League players right now, but you're gonna overpay and they're all gonna drop. So from an investment standpoint, I'd rather just sit on the coins. Coins are one thing that never devalue. Players and assets like cards do. There's too many people trading right now for things like ones to watches to become useful, but to me right now, it's just get a team that's usable, that's playable, and then you'll have the occasional game like this that's a little bit frustrating, but that's about it. So this was the guy's first attack. If you go back and watch that, you'll see it. That's what I was talking about, the game being very frustrating. It's just not rewarding. So there's about 3 instances there where I think it started, he cut back, and my players ended up, one just ran right past them, and then it ran into my other player, and both of them fell over. Then he cuts the ball in. I have really good positioning with Rudiger. We go body to body, and his player just warps through. Like, it's stuff like that. Even here, like, look, Joe Gomez can't put a tackle in. Like, body the guy off. I'm putting in tackle. I'm hitting tackle. He's not doing anything, but I don't want to hit slide tackle. I don't necessarily want to hit O, but I'm bodying him over, and his player just bounces off. Like, it's so random that it's just frustrating. Even chances like these, like I'm just getting these really high rated chances here, and he'll just get last ditch tackles in, or his keeper will make a toe save, or I'll play the ball in and we'll play it too far into space. It was just a frustrating game. We end up winning it 1-0, but again, another unsatisfying victory. I have yet to play a game so far this year where I just go, man, that was really good back and forth. And it's funny because I'm actually 3-0 from online from these first couple games, and none of them felt like, I don't want to say deserved, but they were close games. It's just that they didn't feel very satisfying. It didn't feel like this victory of like, oh man, I won 1-0. What a tight game. Like, I really own the guy offensively, but to his credit, if you can say this, he let the computer defend, and they were just always in front of the ball. And then there's times where my guys will score these rockets that are undeserved, and then there's times where they'll miss wide open shots. They'll take a lot of shots with their weak foot. Like, I'll have a ball on the right, and the guy will warp over and take it with his left. So it becomes inaccurate. Like, it's coding like that is just so frustrating. But not a whole lot you can do with it. Even here, this poor guy, like this was the third game. You're going to see me bouncing off of this guy a lot. Like here, decent tackle. He actually read it, and Jack Grealish, I don't know if it was because he was in an animation where I was doing a skill move, but there, another one where his player just gives the ball away, and then Phil Foden, I got it on his left foot, he shifts over and takes it with his right and goes across body. Explain any of that to me. Like, it's just nonsense, right? It's just ridiculous nonsense. It just makes the game frustrating. And I really don't want to say that because I don't like whining. Like, that was a much better opportunity. I created a chance wide open from Jesus Navas. I got the whole side of the goal, finesse it around the keeper and into the goal. I would have felt rewarded, but instead the keeper from 10 yards out jumps like a leopard and like picks the ball out of the top corner and knocks it out of play for a corner. Like, just really idiotic. Like, I don't know even if patches can save it. Like, it's just too random. It's too nonsensical. Just very frustrating to play. But this is the type of game we just totally owned our opponent. So I was going to get chances. I never felt in danger. This is a perfect example. Like, weak foot Jack Grealish, right? Cross body. It wasn't even a great shot. But when he leans over and does that run after he scores, that's when you know that all the sliders are in your favor. So I've said that for years. It's in the coding. They're using the same code every year, right? So they haven't changed it. I sound like a broken record if you've watched any of my videos before, but that's a way to know that the game is just basically all the sliders are in your favor and all your opponent's sliders are against him. So here you go. At this point, Jadon Sancho just rockets a shot across goal. He was missing much easier chances than that. but I just ran away from goal and cross body far post, and he rockets it into the top corner. So just way too inconsistent, way too random. People want to, like, EA apologists will say, well, that's what FIFA's like, but it's not, right? Like, a much better opportunity there on the guy's weak foot, go across body, misses the chance there. Here, Jadon Sancho, I got it on an angle where I wanted him to take a finesse with his right. Instead, he shifts over and takes a finesse with his left. So the ball's, like, if the net's here, he curls it away so the keeper can make the save. Like, just, you know what? I'm getting all worked up. I'm getting frustrated watching the highlights. You can only imagine how frustrated I was playing it. It's just inexcusable, nonsensical coding that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get why that's in there, why they have to do that. It's on his strong foot. Take it with your strong foot. I don't understand. Like, and there's nothing I could have done, right? Unless you really force it onto his right. But if I do that, the keeper's now running at me, and I'm going to play it into the keeper. You've got a half second. It's on his right foot. Instead of taking it with his right, he does this and takes it with his left, and it bends into the keeper but away. So I don't get it. It's just really, really silly, dumb coding. I'm hoping that they deal with that stuff in patches, but again, I shouldn't be relying on patches, right? So 3 games, 3 wins. I'm more irritated before than I was. I'm more irritated now than I was before. I don't feel rewarded. I don't feel like, even though I won those games, and I think I allowed, 1 goal, maybe 2 goals or something like that, I don't feel like the results are reflective of the game. I don't expect to win a game 10-0, but I just want the goals that I worked hard to get to go in, and the ones that were those half chances, they'll get stopped. And it's just it's random whether I win or lose, but more importantly whether I score or not. That's what I feel like right now. But yeah, what you guys are seeing here is just some last minute housekeeping. We ended up picking up a little bit more in terms of, like, players. We ended up picking Rudiger up, or we packed him in as an untradeable. He goes into the squad. We ended up getting Joe Gomez, again tradeable, so we sold one of our Joe Gomez's. Yeah, we ended up getting some pack luck here, and I was able to flip some of these guys. Ended up selling a whole bunch of these cards because I wanted to pick up Timo Werner. Gabriel Jesus was fine, but look, Timo Werner is just like a cheat code in this game. So there you go. We ended up picking up Timo Werner, 32K. Very, very happy with that. He ended up being a really good card. We haven't taken him online yet, but what you guys are actually going to see right after me picking him up is me selling him, because not too long after I picked him up, I used him in a couple offline games. We end up getting him untradeable in an untradeable pack, which I can't remember where the untradeable pack came from. Maybe an SBC or something like that. I think I did it on the web app, which is why you guys aren't seeing it. But this is the tradable version. I was just putting in the squad so you guys can see what the team looks like. But there you go. We ended up getting a untradeable version. We ended up selling it. So we lost some coins, but whatever. It was, we ended up getting to use him, so I'm not super concerned. I was happy packing him. And then this was, I think, the Hybrid Nations and Leagues. This is one that people are doing loyalty on. I'm just showing you that you don't actually have to get loyalty. You can use the things in your squad. Guys sit there just like a robot regurgitating exactly what's on Futbin. Don't do that. Look at what you guys have in your squad. See if you can find the formula for how the SBC is built, and then put cards that you have in there, and then all I had to do was purchase a couple other ones, fill it in, and I didn't even have to do the loyalty, and I ended up getting a rare mega pack from it. So that is fantastic, right? I don't have to sit there quitting out of games or doing whatever stupid thing you have to do for loyalty where you just go into 10 games and then quit out. Like, those types of things are just, they're not worth the time to me. Like, eventually you'll get enough players to do this. I did exactly that. I just used the guys that were in my club, and next thing you know, I was able to do it. And we ended up picking up Kai Havertz. Not a fantastic card, but still something. Like I said, an 84 rated Premier League. He's going to be great for SBCs. And then this one, I don't remember what this was for. This was one of the advanced SBCs. I must have packed something decent in it. But yeah, we're at a point now where the squad is looking quite good. We were using Conte for a while. Like, I knew I was going to trade him eventually or sell him eventually, but I wanted to try him. And to be honest with you, he was he's worth it. If you're looking for elite players in the game, you have the coins. Kante was a total difference maker. He's just a pit bull in the midfield. He caused guys problems all day. However, I was worried about him devaluing. He's actually gone up to 500k, so we ended up, you guys will see this in a sec, we ended up selling him. There's the Joe Gomez, the other tradable Joe Gomez. I think he was worth about 20k or something, 23 grand, something like that. But we ended up selling N'Golo Kante just because I wanted to use the coins and have them sit there, because what I'm worried about is when promos come out, he's just going to drop through the floor. And promos can come out anytime. I don't know what EA are doing. I know they got ones to watches in right now. We're coming up on the weekend. I was worried they were going to come out on Saturday, so I'm like, cash in now while he's 500k. So he might go a little bit further up, but I didn't want to risk it. Unfortunately, they didn't release any promos this weekend, I don't believe. It's Saturday. I haven't checked the store or anything like that, but I don't think they released any promos to the best of my knowledge. But if they did, that's why we're selling Kante, because I don't want to lose big on him. I want to cash in while he's still big, and then I'll just hold the coins, because like I said, coins are never going to devalue. They're always 500k is 500k, and that's the way I view it, right? So we ended up doing the hybrid leagues, hybrid nations, 13k. That's a nice little chunk that will go into the bank. We get that really ugly Team of the Week kit. None of the kits have been worth it. I don't know what they're doing with that. They've got weird tifos and stuff that are really overpriced in their store. I don't know why anybody would buy any of those tifos. They're just like, they're no different than any of the free ones that you can get from objectives and stuff like that. Not super worth it to do that hybrid leagues and nations. We didn't get anything really that great in it. We ended up getting that Alexandro in the rare mixed pack, and he'll sell eventually, but he's way too cheap right now. I think actually we might even have sold this just to get him out of the club, but there's a ton of these types of cards that are worth like 2 or 3 grand. Just keep them, like hold on to them, wait till there's an SPC that comes out, and there you go, job's a good one. João Cancelo is me showing why you should always do the preview pack. I think he was worth somewhere in the range of 20k, something like that. So we ended up picking up the João Cancelo, making a cool little like 10k profit off of him, and then another 1,500 coins there and some other players just to fill up the club with. So those are the types of things that you need to do your preview packs for, because they will be very useful. You can just make huge coin chunks with them. Just always do them with coins. We end up selling Jadon Sancho. We ended up packing this Lacroix again in one of the marquee matchups, and I end up selling N'Golo Kante, so we're at like 500-600k, and the reason for it being we ended up getting the ones to watch Jadon Sancho. He's dropped a ton, so I'm a little annoyed, but what are you going to do? He's going to be in the squad forever. So that is going to be the end of the video, guys. I appreciate you all sticking with me to the very end. If you could like the video down below, and if you're not already, follow the channel. That'd be greatly appreciated. Until next time, guys, take care. Peace.